Hi, I'm Jonas Brunschwig. I'm the Consul General of Switzerland in San Francisco, and we are standing at Hidden Currencies, the first public diplomacy campaign of my tenure, which began 8 months ago. Hidden Currencies is a 3 weeks exhibition that brought together artists from Switzerland, the Bay Area, and beyond to look at water not just as a resource, but as infrastructure and as culture. Infrastructure, because we believe that water is as consequential as a highway or other pieces of infrastructure. Culture, because water mediates meaning and power in society. And so, really, not just a resource. And we are at a moment in time where technological advances and our technological ambitions are very resource intensive, are demanding a lot of water. Artificial intelligence, for example, which is part of the byline of Hidden Currencies, water justice in the age of AI, has big demands on water systems. So we wanted to have an exhibition that invited a reflection on how can we do justice to our ambitions while also honoring the indigenous knowledge that we have, while also honoring the needs of water systems and other beneficiaries of water systems that are not just the human populations near them. And over the past 3 weeks, we've had a series of conversations that have explored just these questions. And what I leave with is really exciting insights on how nuances are important and how having dialogues where all of these different perspectives, be it the scientific perspective, the technological perspective, the indigenous knowledge perspective, the artistic perspective, are brought together into a room, into an exhibition room, and are not competing for dominance, but they're all coexisting and they all bring their arguments and their needs and their perspectives, and then try to mediate a pathway forward that does justice to all of it.
I'm Amy Kisch, founder of AK Art Advisory and the curator for Hidden Currencies, Water Justice in the Age of AI. When I was invited by the Swiss consulate to curate an exhibition on water, it was a very broad topic. I don't need to tell anybody. But, Switzerland has had this long-standing commitment to blue diplomacy, blue peace, blue tech, to really play a critical role in resolving global water conflict. So I gave a lot of thought to, well, what does that look like now? And as represented here in San Francisco, the exhibition was also opening during Climate Week. And so trying to think through what are some of the historic wins for climate, including the undamming of the Klamath River, which has been this historic undamming of several dams to restore water flow and food sovereignty and water sovereignty to indigenous peoples, specifically the Yurok. And so, I gave some thought to how do you bring all these themes together in a cohesive exhibition, and one that also isn't just art in a space, but also invites people to dive deeper into the science and the nuances of how these old forms of knowing, indigenous knowledge, can mesh with and inform these new systems of knowing, like technology, from old technologies of dams to new technologies like AI. So yeah, so the exhibition really is multidisciplinary. You have, fiber arts, you have sculpture, you have digital work, data art, art that reflects kind of the intersection of uh, nature refracted through the lens of AI and technology. We also have some interventions in the back that really help people go from the poetry of these kind of central artists that I've just shared to the tactics of what can each person do to reduce their water footprint. And I think about this generally with different exhibitions I curate. How do you move people emotionally so you can move them to action? Is to kind of move through the artworks in the space, um, start to hold the tension between these nuances of what does technology look like today versus it might have looked like dams in the past. Now it's about data centers and AI, and how do we hold that and the needs of that with also holding the needs of communities and people. So as they kind of go through the space, I hope that they are moved by the emotion of some of these works representing what's happening to glaciers, what's happening to sea levels, um, kind of our notion of what is natural being somewhat warped. Uh, but also, I think one of the things that I've learned, and that's kind of been critical to me through this, is I think in today's culture, we're so trained to think in opposition. It's either indigenous knowledge or it's technology. And I think this hopefully invites people to consider that these old ways of knowing and these new ways of knowing need to come together in balance. And the challenge is how do we weave that together as opposed to have them be in opposition to one another. A lot of the show is about how do we make these unseen ways that we make choices around how we move through the world, what we eat, where we go, how do we make those kind of appear in plain sight or at least in our minds so that as we move through our day, through our geographies, across geographies, we take that with us.